We are back, the final hour. Don't forget, tomorrow live in Tuscaloosa, among our guests will include the athletic director at the University of Alabama. Let's bring in Griff here. It's always a staple of Thursday afternoon. And Griff, looks like you're in the Southwest. Where are you?
I'm in the Southwest. I'm at mom and dad's house out here in Phoenix, and they're regular Paul Feinbaum fans. So thought it'd be fun to do the shoot from out here today.
Well, I would imagine off week, get a chance to relax, get away from sports,
Yeah.
get away from all the criticism that you occasionally get on this show. So I'm sure I'm accurate in making that statement.
Yeah. So I thought, until I sat down and mom got me something to drink and turned your show up and turned the volume up. I'm thinking, can I just, no offense, but just a few minutes away. But, Darlene loves Paul Feinbaum and Chet's good with it. So everybody's happy that the Paul Feinbaum show is on and they can see what jokes you're going to crack and what callers that, that they can, I don't want to say laugh at. Let's just say enjoy. Let's say they enjoy the callers.
Well, tell Darlene if she's looking to adopt a son, I'm available. So, Griff, before we get to a couple of more important subjects, I understand there's been a lot of movement in Athens helping support Mark Richt, including Kirby Smart.
Yeah, it's so unique, Paul, when you think about Georgia and the lineage of coaches and the handoff from Coach Richt to Kirby. And remember, Richt hired Kirby in 2005. He couldn't get him on the defensive staff. He made him a running backs coach, believe it or not. And so Kirby worked with Mark for a year. He remembers that opportunity that Mark Richt gave him. There's a tremendous amount of respect. So when Mark Richt started this, Chick-fil-A dog bowl to benefit Parkinson's and Crohn's disease, Kirby was all over it. And they delivered like 30 or 40 players to the bowling alley last night. I think they had $750,000 that they've raised, and they're still raising money. They're trying to get to $1 million on DogNation.com. We have a link for that. But it was cool to see Kirby come out there with his wife, Mary Beth, and his kids. And, it's just a really unique thing to see these two coaches together, Hall of Fame coaches. Mark's going in this year, obviously. And, of course, he'll win the Steve Spurrier Award as well, a very prestigious award. But to see Mark Richt and Kirby Smart working together on this, and I kind of felt like Georgia needed it. Their kids really had a lot of fun bowling. They were very competitive last night. And it was just a really cool thing. I've been a lot of places, and you just don't see that with former coaches all staying around. Ray Goff is still around here, Jim Donnan, and, of course, Mark Richt has moved back, his son John Richt, here in town. So it's just a real family thing in Georgia.
Mike, that's really nice. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about the story of the week, even though Georgia is not playing this week, but the Bowers injury, what it means, and when do you think he can possibly come back?
Well, if we're just assuming that it's the tightrope, then 4-week window. But I don't know that that's all there is, and I don't know that anybody really knows the extent of that injury. I mean, obviously, this is something. Brock Bowers, when he's healthy, he'll come back. When the doctors clear him, this is a dude that's going to come back. Just like when he was down on the turf for an extended amount of time, like that's not an ankle, okay? Because Brock Bowers has sprained his ankle probably 20 times in life, and he knew it was more. And really, the championship's hopes really flickered. I mean, this is their Superman. There's no doubt about it, and it's going to take a collective effort from several players to step up. I mean, Paul, here's the thing people have to appreciate, and this is no disrespect to Georgia fans that have seen Kirby do it over and over, but this is a program that's won 24 straight games. Okay, this is a program that's coming off 2 national championships, but this is a team that's 7-0. This is a team that's trailed in 3 out of 4 SEC games against teams with a combined 1-10 SEC record, okay? So you got to separate that the team is within the program, and now this is an opportunity for this team, this 2023 team, to kind of write their own script. And the win streak, Paul, it's either going to continue or it's going to end. And Florida has a ton of momentum after an incredible come-from-behind victory at South Carolina. They were down 10 with 9-11 left, and Graham Mertz all of a sudden is on everybody's radar. With this high completion. I don't think he's mobile enough to beat Georgia. We'll see. But this is a game that suddenly I think it's going to be a competitive football game. I mean, it was competitive last year with Anthony Richardson, but now with Brock Bowers gone, Georgia really has to hope that Ladd McConkey is healthy. Superman's down, but the Flash may be back. This is an explosive playmaking receiver that missed the first 4 games with a back injury. He had 4 catches against Vanderbilt. The back injury is, you got to watch it closely, so the practice is limited. And then they have this freshman tight end named Lawson Lucky, and I heard Rusty Manziel talked about him earlier this week. But Lawson was a guy that in spring camp, you heard a lot of buzz about this kid. And then he injured his ankle and had the tightrope surgery. He's been back 2 games. He would be the next man up, but he's not going to. Nobody's going to carry the Brock Bowers workload. I mean, this guy's irreplaceable.
We'll talk more about that when we see you in a couple of days in Jacksonville. Certainly that is going to be watched very closely. Speaking of that, it's never too early to talk about the Gators. They pulled out an amazing win. Billy Napier obviously took your advice. He's smiling more. He's getting more sleep. What do you make out of the Gators' resurgence?
Well, honestly, I did think about that when they came back late in the fourth quarter. I said, "Oh, that looks like a rested football team." And Billy did talk about this. Well, did it not? I mean,
they really did.
They really did. Maybe Billy Napier's honest. Steve Spurrier was there, and did he visit the office during the week? Suddenly they scored 41 points. I don't know, but he likes Carolina too. So it was remarkable, and you've got to give Florida credit. I mean, this is a program that Billy Napier is such a nice guy. He's such a nice guy. And after the game, he talked about how football was like life, believe it or not. He made that comparison. You look at Florida's schedule now, and after that win over South Carolina, Paul, we're talking about, listen, if the Gators beat Georgia, I mean, forget all the doubt. It's South, lock them down, put them in concrete, because Arkansas now, what do they really have left to play for, right? And you get that momentum, and I don't know LSU if they can stop anybody. Their offense is phenomenal, but how long can you keep Jaden Daniels healthy if the guy's going to run this line? I just don't think he's going to get to the finish line completely healthy. So this is a lot of momentum for the Gators. Suddenly, this game in Jacksonville, I believe, will be competitive. I know the Dogs, they kind of have to hit the restart button, Paul. Without Brock Bowers, Mike Bobo's got to go to work and say, all right, what's the identity of this Georgia? I think Carson Beck has to do more. This is a Jacksonville kid. Right? I think it's perfect timing for Carson to go home to Jacksonville and play in that stadium. He said he hadn't played there since the city championship when he was 11 years old. He lost the game, okay? He wants to get a win in that stadium now and avenge that loss as an 11-year-old in that stadium.
Talking to Griff here, Griff, a couple other stories. While that was going on in Knoxville, Heupel and his team pull one out, but Jimbo Fisher slips deeper and deeper into the abyss. What do you make out of his future?
Well, first let's cover the Jimbo thing real quick, because to me, if you bring in Bobby Petrino, it's not a one-year fix. You're trying to change the culture. If you're going to invest in Petrino, I think you got to give it 2 years. And listen, I'm not a Jimbo apologist. I like what I've seen from Petrino, but I think you need to give that team a little bit of time. It's not like some NCAA video game that you just hit the restart button and everybody's ratings kick in. It takes a little bit of time. And I like that combination. I believe in that combination, and I am not in favor of Texas A&M looking to fire Jimbo Fisher. Conversely, I have more respect for Josh Heupel now than before, which is saying a lot, because he won our Spurrier Award just a couple of years ago. I mean, yes, we know that he can coach explosive offenses. We know that Josh can coach up quarterbacks, right? We know they can do the hurry up. But the fact that he's able to win with a power run game and a defense tells you everything about what type of coach he is. Great coaches can win with the talent that they have. They're not married to the system. And I know a lot of Tennessee fans want to see that scoreboard light up. But if you've got a coach that can win like Josh Heupel, lock this guy down. This guy to get a lifetime contract. He's an amazing coach. He just doesn't quite have enough, I don't think, this next weekend in Tuscaloosa. I don't think you can go into Bryant-Denny and push the tide around. And we saw Tennessee in a road environment earlier this year at Florida. They had some issues. And so I think Bryant-Denny is going to be rocking and roaring, and I think that could be the difference in the game Saturday.
Mike Griffith. So, Mike, back to something you said a minute ago. You're all in favor of Bobby Petrino remaining as the offensive coordinator, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, provided that the chemistry is good and the coaches are getting along and all that sort of thing. I love that comment. I think he's a fantastic coach, and I think he's a prize. I just think you need to give a guy more than 1 year. I mean, it's not like, A&M had one, whoopsie game down there at Miami, but they played Tennessee tight, coulda, shoulda. had some opportunities in that game. And then Alabama, I mean, those aren't bad losses to me. I think this is a good Tennessee, a tough Tennessee, much tougher than I thought. You know, maybe not as explosive, especially with Brew McCoy gone. To me, that's what really derailed DeVal's upside this year. But they're still tough enough to grind this out and beat teams physically. And I didn't see that coming. I haven't seen that at Tennessee in a while.
Okay, I want to throw the A&M schedule up here a second. We'll give us a second because I want you to look at something on the schedule. We showed you the Florida schedule, and you made a best case scenario for that, and I think it's you can always wonder. But in A&M's case, they have two really punishing road games left at Ole Miss in a week and at LSU. They have South Carolina next week and Mississippi State. Now, you're the soothsayer. Tell me what their record's going to be at the end of the season.
You know, Paul, I mean, obviously having this week off is huge. And what happens this next week is really going to affect, you know, South Carolina, obviously a winnable game. I saw where you took Shane Beamer to task. You didn't like the way he reacted to a broken foot. I guess he was supposed to put his fist through a window or something. But anyway, I digress. At Ole Miss, this is interesting to me. You know, Lane Kiffin's team I think has so much upside. It's a potential college football playoff team. I really like this Ole Miss team. So you're right. That is a brutal game. That's going to be a proven game.
What is the record going to be, Griff?
I'm going to give them. I think the Aggies can still win 8 games. I still think they can. I think they can pull off an 8-win season, but it's not about that, Paul. It's not.
Well,
about.
I didn't ask you what it was about. I just wanted to. It's to me it looks like 7-5, but if it's 7-5, and what if it's worse than 7-5?
You know, it depends on. You know, there's so many circumstances. The recruiting class is going to have a lot to do with it. Let's face it. The transfer class. You know, we used to put so much into recruiting rankings.
But you're not going to know all that at the time the decision has to be made, are you?
No, and that's why I think you pointed to that Ole Miss game as a big game. I just can't imagine bringing Petrino in for 1 year and just saying, "Oh, it didn't work. Just get rid." You know, to me, that's got to be a long-term
Let's say
solution.
it's 7, Griff. Let's say it's 7 wins, or 8. It doesn't really matter to me. It's still a subpar season. What is the argument that you make to? I mean, aside from $77 million, what compelling argument do you make to bring him back for the 7th season? Is all I'm asking you here.
Well, I think my argument is I think Bobby Petrino is a fantastic coach, and I think that if you give him and Jimbo time, it takes time to build a culture. It takes time to get everybody on the same page. It takes time to get to recruit to the.
Hasn't taken anybody else that much time.
Well, I would argue that. I think it has taken some teams some time. I know where you're going with this. You and I clearly disagree. I think Bobby Petrino and Jimbo Fisher are a good couple, a good match, and I think that if A&M sticks with them, you have some continuity. If I'm A&M at this point, I've gone this far with Jimbo. If you're going to fire him, you should have already fired him. You've gone this far with him. I don't think you want to be in a complete rebuild mode with Texas coming into the league. Because now all of a sudden recruiting slips.
Yeah,
you got brand new
the only thing I would
listen,
it doesn't matter to me what they do. I'm just simply asking you because you're an expert and you've been talking about Jimbo since the beginning of the season. But it doesn't look good to be in rebuild mode with Texas coming in. But does it look good to be in hot seat, better win this year or else mode either?
No, and listen, if you want to turn me into a Jimbo Fisher apologist, you have absolutely succeeded in doing that today. Maybe it's these Southwest colors that have got me feeling.
I think I remember about a year ago you were a Dan Mullen apologist too, right before he got fired. So your track record is good.
You got me on my heels today, Paul. Guilty as charged. I think Dan was a nice guy. I like nice guy coaches. What can I say? I thought Dan Mullen did some nice things there.
Yeah, but the problem, Griff, and I hope Darlene doesn't get mad at me or not. But you turned into you went nice on Dan Mullen right as they were pushing him out the door, which is a nice trait of yours. Anyway, tell the folks hello. Everybody, you're the most requested guest every week. So whether we agree or disagree, we love having you.
Well, I appreciate that, Paul. I think the Tennessee-Alabama game is going to be a great third Saturday in October. I know Georgia needs this week off. and it's going to be real interesting to see. Also, I like your Missouri South Carolina game. Let's see what Beamer's got left in him with that club foot on the sideline against the Drinkwitz went genius on us. I said he was either nerd cool or genius. The fake punt was genius. Missouri slammed the door in the fourth quarter. Hey, don't overlook the Missouri Tigers in the East.
Drink's knocking on the door of being SEC Coach of the Year. Thanks, Griff. We appreciate your time. We're up against the break here. Your phone calls are next.